Good evening. I will call to order the Finance Committee meeting on February 21st, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. We have three items on the agenda this evening. Mid-year transfer request in the amount of $1,202,100. We have an establishment of opioid special revenue fund and transfer request in the amount of $162,202.95. And we also have a proposed ordinance amendment to City Code Chapter 125, Personnel, Section 5. I will begin with the first item on the agenda this evening, Order Number 24-100-9079, communication from the Mayor, mid-year transfer request totaling $1,202,100 from various departments for FY 2024, which moves funds from and to accounts as outlined in the transfer sheets. I will begin by reading the letter submitted by the Mayor. Dear Council President Ossing and Councilors, enclosed for your review and approval of the mid-year transfer request. We are requesting $50,100 from reserve for salaries to fund several items: coverage of vacation payout, sick leave buyback, and overlap of the former Chief of Staff within the Mayor's office budget, coverage of vacation payout and sick leave buyback of the former Executive Administrator with the Mayor's office budget, coverage of cost for unexpected appraisals and consulting services within the assessing department budget, coverage for additional phone lines and printing devices within the information technology department budget, coverage for additional inauguration and office supply expenses within the Mayor's office. With respect to the Mayor's office budget transfer requests, both the Chief of Staff and Executive Administrator have departed from the office with the turnover in the administration. Therefore, we are required to provide payout for earned vacation time and sick time for both positions. Trish Bernard, the former Chief of Staff, agreed to stay on for a period of time in January to assist with the transition. Her salary for that time isn't included in the total amount requested. In addition, I have requested monies for expenses within the Mayor's office, which help cover the cost of annual inauguration expenses and for office supplies needed with a change in the administration. In addition to these transfers, I've enclosed for your review internal transfers from the following departments: City Clerks in the amount of $13,000, Department of Public Works in the amount of $1,139,000. Additional details on these internal transfers can be found within the enclosures. I want to thank both the City Clerk and the Department of Public Works Commissioner for their good budget practice in identifying funds to avoid additional transfers. I would also like to thank City Auditor Diane Smith and her staff for their assistance on these transfers. Each respected department head, City Auditor Diane Smith, and I will be available at a future meeting to discuss. Please do not hesitate to contact me or my office with any questions. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. And I will bring the good evening, Mr. Mayor.
How is everyone tonight?
Good evening.
It's good to be here.
I don't know if you want to fill us in, or we get right to questions from the Finance Committee and the councils on the first part of the reserve from salaries. Council.
Mr. Chair, just logistics. Do you want to do one at a time and vote on each one individually?
Yep, we can, and we will start with the $50,100 from reserve for salaries. Yes, absolutely, Councilor.
That works for me. If you have specific questions, or I can go down the list.
With that said, I'll open up to the Finance Committee and any other councilors with questions. Councilor Rome.
Yeah, no, I believe it's very transparent what's happening in your office, how you had the overlay with the previous assistant and so forth, and I'm okay with the way it was been presented. You know, I don't see a problem with it, but that's I would motion to approve as just for further discussion, but I don't see an issue with that payout and how to do it.
Any other further questions? Oh, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I had sent a request for information regarding the line item for the mayor's expenses. So I didn't get any response back.
Okay.
So a little disappointed there. But currently in the expense line item for the mayor, there's over $4,000, well, maybe $3,700. In the inaugural expense, there's $1,600. So I'm not sure why we need another $5,000, and I'm looking for those details. And I would encourage the council to look for them as well, because I went back for fiscal year '22 and '23, and we've budgeted that line item in the order between $9,000 and $10,000 a year, and we've never expended the entire amount. So I understand the new part, but I'm interested in what that new part means. It requires an additional $5,000 to cover it. And I don't want to just hear it's for inaugural stuff. I'm looking for details.
I'd be happy to give that. So if I could just break down the inauguration part. So the food alone was $1,600 for the inauguration, which you have yet to pay for that. Then that includes obviously the invitations, which we ordered more because there was 3 new councilors and a new mayor, and then the programs, and then the flowers that increased exponentially with the flowers as well. So we were already over the budget for that, for inauguration.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, so this is a learning opportunity. You're not allowed to overspend line items without getting funding ahead of time. That's not how the process works. So it's a very important piece, and I understand you wanted more money, but you don't overexpend line items without having the funds available. I mean,
I did not order the food for the inauguration, so now I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. So there was a lot of back and forth the previous administration to order the food. That did not happen to the very last minute. Was not elected at that time period, so I had to unfortunately absorb the cost with that. I'm not making excuses, that's just the way it is. The bill is here and I have to foot the bill somehow. As far as the expenses moving forward, we have no citation or proclamation folders to issue citations and proclamations, so we have to order those. Those are extremely expensive. That's about $1,200 there. So that cost. New stationery with my name on it for thank yous, envelopes. I've been sending thank yous and condolences cards for people who have passed. Of course, I can't do that in the previous administration. And then business cards for my staff, so they're well aware. We're doing everything that we can to tighten up the budget, but these are costs that are affected my administration and with the change of the guard.
Understand, but there's still $1,600 in inaugural and $3,700 in expenses, and you're asking for an additional $5,000 with no details for the council. So it's a little tough for me, and I'm not on the finance committee, but I would not be supporting that particular item until I saw the details as to why an additional $5,000 is needed.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Councilor.
I thought you were taking them one by one, so when I made a motion, I was making a motion for the coverage for the payout of sick leave. That's why I commented the way I did. So I didn't know we were going to jump down to the 5,000. But if it does become an issue, and I agree with the president that it might be good to have an outline of it. As you said, you were stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Correct.
And then obviously when the next budget season comes out, you'll have a better handle on that the last one mentioned for inaugurations and so forth. But I would rephrase my motion to allow the items noted except for the 5,000 so we can get more information on it, and that way the others can be approved and that one can wait for additional information. If everyone agrees to that, that would be my reframed motion.
All right, so what we would, I would second that motion. Motion made and seconded so we'd be approving only the $45,100, and then at a later time, the mayor can send down with more of an explanation on that. Motion was made and seconded to approve the $45,100 from reserve from salaries. Any further discussion? All in favor? It carries 5-0.
Can I just ask what more information do you need other than that was provided tonight regarding the cost that I had to endure?
So I will, yes, the actual details. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I have no details to back up what you're saying. So it should be transparent to the council and the taxpayers what it is that made up the monies that you need. I mean, send the receipts down. That's a pretty simple request.
I would be happy to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so the next item up, because we got a lot to go in on the Department of Public Works, we can go, if anyone has any questions on the city clerk's transfer in the amount of $13,000. And it was nice that Mr. Clerk sent all the information in there in regards to where he's taking the funds from because of that open position.
Based on that, I'd motion to...
Councilor Bartle?
Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, being a new ball player here, is there anything that jumps out? Transfers, I understand, happen every single year. And I'm just curious, is there anything that's unusual for this fiscal year that wasn't in last fiscal year?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Clerk.
I'm sorry, Councilor, you mean in regards to the clerk's office budget? The transfers?
Yes, all that,
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
what is it, 162,000? Is there anything that out of the, like I said, I know the transfers happen every single year, Mr. Clerk, but I'm just curious if there's anything that says, wow, that line item in particular, should...
Well, this year, we're in a presidential election year, so we have 3 elections. Vote by mail has been a little bit, has increased the workload in our office a little bit, so that's why, like, for the poll workers, the position where I'm getting the money from, the elections clerk, we didn't fill that position for the entire fiscal year, so that's why there's some money left in there, so I can transfer it within my own budget. The assistant clerk, the salary for the assistant clerk, that was an ordinance that was changed by the council in the last term, but the previous administration didn't fund it. So this money is, so basically if we don't fund it, as we get to the end of the fiscal year, I won't have any money for the assistant clerk, so.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, at the last meeting, you mentioned the calendar for early voting, which is shown here as well.
Correct, yes.
Thank you. I'd stand by my motion to approve based on the information.
I'm sorry, what's that, Mr.?
I think, did I make a motion to approve? I'll make a motion to approve the clerk's budget as presented.
I will second that motion to approve the $13,000 and that will be coming from the principal clerk to fill the budget transfer items on the request sheet. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay, so next is up, there's a lot of questions I'm thinking in regards to this. So next up is the Department of Public Works transfer in the amount of $1,139,000. Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening.
And I'll open that up to the Finance Committee. If you have any questions? Councilor Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the increased cost for a lot of the utilities, I understand because as a private resident, I think most of us are facing the same thing. So what I was just wondering about was with the Northborough litigation legal fees, do you have any update or idea of where we're at with that?
With the actual fees?
Or even where we are in the process, does it look like it has a...
Sure. So just generally speaking, there was a judge ruled on it. It went to a special master that tries to go down into the real technical aspects of billing and how rates are set, and they made a determination, and it's going back to the judge at this point. And that will be, they're setting a schedule for that next month.
Okay, so there is a potential that that item could waiver because it's not certain to end. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Brown.
This point of information, Mr. Chair.
Mr. President.
So to make it easier for Ted and the mayor, I would start with the first transfer, just read off the transfer sheet. First one's for $55,000 and ask who's got questions.
And then go
just
from there.
systematically go through the 9 transfer sheets.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
we'll be bouncing all over the place and it'll
Thank
make
you,
it a
Mr.
little
President.
challenging.
Good idea, Mr. President. So, yeah, so the first transfer is $55,000, and these are coming from, the account descriptions there are coming from plumber, and house worker due to vacancies, and these will be transferred into the part-time plumber, increased overtime needed, and the library custodians. So the first one is $55,000. Any questions in regards to that? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the $55,000 from the plumber and houseworkers account to the enclosed transfer. All in favor? Carries 5-0.
Mr. Chair, if I may, on the next item, which is electricity and gas, I think we could group pages 2 of 9 through 6 of 9. They're all the costs for electricity and gas. They amount to $814,000.
Yes.
So that's the majority of your request. And I know at past budget meetings, even I was in support of looking towards newer types of energy. Might it be solar panels? We've talked, I know Councilor Doucette has brought up the geothermal wells and so forth. And I think we'll need to continue that approach, especially with the cost. But it does, those 4 or 5 pages amount to $814,000. Not much we can do about it at this point, but hopefully we're looking at solar panels and other forms of renewable energy that may save us money in the long term, especially if this is the world of energy at this point. I just heard on the radio today, gasoline's going up, not just with the summer gasoline, but the fact that we're paying for security due to foreign affairs. So I don't think energy is going to go down overnight, you know, and unfortunately we're in the same process as Councilor Brown just mentioned. We see it at our home as well. So, but this is something that unless you can negotiate with the electrical company or the gas company, I believe we need to approve it. And it does note that there's been some vacancies within the DPW, and that's going to need to be addressed too. I was telling the commissioner on my way in, how are you running this department? But unfortunately, you know, people do leave, they retire. So with that said, I would motion to approve these 5 pages that present all the gas and electricity.
Okay. I know there's some other questions, Councilor.
Sure. No, I'm just saying those. Sorry, Mark, I don't see you from the right side.
Mr. President.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Ted, thanks for the information. I appreciate the feedback. But I think it's beneficial if you could just inform the councilors, similar to the residential rates in electricity change, could you just mention how the rates in December changed for the city as well, just so that folks understand why the request is being made?
Sure. So we locked into the electric rate that we locked in back in the spring, and that took effect in December, so that's partially through the fiscal year. So that rate went from 0.065 kilowatt hours to 0.1246, which is a 44% increase. So for half the fiscal year, over half the fiscal year, it went up 44%. That's just the supply of it. That's locked in for 3 years with Constellation. The gas, that was, we had a rate of 5.836 decatherms, and that went to 8.85 decatherms on December 1st, 23. That was negotiated previously as well. That was for 1 year. The mayor just locked that in a week ago, and we got 0.7981, and it's just gone back up again. So I think we hit it at the right time when it's a warm winter, and they tend to dip right before they start to choke off the supply, which I think they just did. So we locked in, and that's for the year after that. So we're actually locking into the future year. So
2-year rate?
we had 1 year, and the one the mayor just locked into was another 1 year after that.
Yep.
So that will be for 2. So we have that rate for 2 years. So we shouldn't be expecting any rate from the supply side, anyways. That increase was 52%. I don't know if I said that. So that's pretty much where those accounts stand. Is that what you're looking?
So, Mr. Chair, so thank you, Ted. And the reason I mention that is because, you know, some of the feedback from some of the residential customers when they're going to get their February bill, want to know why rates come up. It's happening on the city side as well as the residential side. It's across the whole energy market. It's not just what we did. I mean, I think we've locked in on the residential side, a really attractive rate, though it's never attractive when you're writing the check out. But compared to what other folks have, it is attractive to what surrounding communities have. And as the commissioner explained, you know, similar on the city side, so locking in those rates. My second question, Mr. Commissioner, centers around the percent expended. So, you know, I know it's not exactly 1/12 every month, but are we sitting on any bills, because there's still, we haven't clipped the halfway part for some of those, and these are the reports through January, so that's 2 months of the winter.
Right, it's not a one-to, I've been looking into it, and I'm pretty good understanding of it. It's not easy because we do make out pretty well with our solar. So we have net metering on one, and those credits come in lagged, and then there's solar, so when you're in the winter, you're not getting the payback that you will in the summer. And then we have the new school ones that are smart metering, which go right to the school. So each account is different, so it comes out, it's not an easy thing to track, but I've looked at it, we projected it. Most of the accounts are projected right on. The school gas has a little contingency in there, just because we never know how much the solar will be, we'll never know how much the usage is, so that's kind of how it's figured. But to the best of what we can project, that's what it's going to be.
And so why I mentioned it to the councilors, because if you recall, during the budget process, we reduced the gas and the electricity both by $100,000 each,
Yeah.
right? But what I try to convey to you, there is money left over in various accounts. We're $1.6 million underfunding salary line items that we now have the luxury of moving funds around without having to ask for money for free cash to cover these. Right. So worth noting is, what does the electricity and natural gas come in as at the end of the year? With the year-end transfers, will there be any additional transfers to either A, make up, or do we put too much in and move it somewhere else? Worth watching. Granted, I know I spend too much time in it, but it's important to know where the money's coming.
So just looking ahead for the budget will be coming down, so the budget next year will be more, because now you'll have the full year of the rate increase as opposed to and you won't get to really see what happens the end of this year, so.
No, but we'll be able to see did you spend all the money for
Right.
this year or not. That's what I look for. So.
After the next budget's already in though, right? Yep.
I'm all set. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Chair.
Good question. Okay, I will entertain a motion on this page of $157,000 mid-year transfer.
So moved.
I will second that. Motion's been made and seconded to approve $157,000. All in favor? That carries 5-0. Next up was the one for the $247,000 transfer.
So moved.
I will second that. Motion been made to approve the mid-year transfer in $247,000. All in favor? Carries 5-0. On page 4 of 9, a transfer of $162,000.
So moved.
I will second that motion. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the $162,000 for the mid-year transfers. All in favor? Carries 5-0. Next was page 5 with the $211,000 transfer.
So moved.
I will second that. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the $211,000 mid-year transfer. All in favor? Carries 5-0. Page 6 of 9 for the $37,000 transfer.
So moved.
I will second that. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the mid-year transfer in the amount of $37,000. All in favor? Carries.
Mr. Chair, if I did my math right, it amounts to 814 total.
And then we also have the next couple pages. We have one for $3,000. On page 7 of 9.
I apologize, I was on the next one, but I would move to approve.
No, because I know that Councilman was going to go on individual line item. That's why I just brought this up. So I will entertain a motion for the $3,000. I will,
Move to approve.
I will second that. Motion made and seconded to approve the item of $3,000 mid-year transfer. All in favor? Carries 5-0. Next up was the $240,000 transfer on page 8 of 9.
Mr. Chair, that's the one that mentions the legal services as well. That was questioned earlier.
Motion. Oh, Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question about the overtime items. Is the overtime due to the vacancies? Or just,
Yeah.
so on that last, the
Yes.
10,000, I know it comes up in future
Yes.
lines as well, but, okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
I will second that. Motion was made and seconded to approve the amount of $240,000 mid-year transfer. All in favor? Carries 5-0. And the last item, page 9 of 9, was a $27,000 transfer for the overtime and on-call.
Motion to approve.
I will second that. Motion made and seconded to approve the $27,000 mid-year transfer. All in favor? Carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
So next up is order number 24-100-9080, communication from the mayor, establishment of the opioid settlement special revenue fund and transfer request in the amount of $162,202.95 from free cash to the opioid settlement special revenue fund.
Mr.
And
Chair?
I will-
Go ahead. I was just going to commend the mayor, but go ahead. I already said that at the city council meeting.
I will read the letter submitted by the mayor. Dear Council President Ossing and councilors, as you may be aware, the city of Marlborough is a beneficiary of funds from the National Opioid Settlement. Funds allocated to municipalities prior to December of 2023 were directed to be recorded as general fund revenue. In December of 2023, the Division of Local Services provided guidance surrounding these funds, determining that municipalities may place said funds into a special revenue fund in accordance with Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2023. The special revenue fund must be approved by the City Council and the Mayor. Therefore, I am submitting for your approval the establishment of such a special revenue fund and a transfer in the amount of $162,202.95 from free cash to said fund. This amount reflects the total amount of opioid settlement money that the city has received in previous years, fiscal years. There is an additional $28,155.97 that has been received within the FY24 budget, which, upon the passage of the special revenue fund, will automatically roll over into this account. That would bring the total special reserve fund balance to $190,358.92. I am personally pleased by the updated guidance, as it will allow for both better accounting measures and efficiency when allocating the funds. Substance abuse and addiction is a topic that has impacted individuals and families across our country, including Marlborough. I am sensitive to these effects of the crisis, and I'm committed to working with the city staff, the city councilors, and the addiction and recovery community and other partners to identify effective uses for these funds. I ask your support and partnership in these endeavors. Please do not hesitate to contact me or my office with any questions. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So this is just a step in the right direction, so we can actually have clear data as to where this money is going and get it out of free cash. So I will share with you that I do not have an idea of how we're going to use this money as of yet. I think this is a step in the right direction, and then we can start moving forward as to how we're going to allocate those funds. But I'd rather put the process first and then start figuring out. We've been looking at other communities and towns to see how they allocated their funds in that nature, and then we can start figuring out what to do with this. But I don't feel comfortable until this is set up. So once we get the more funding from different settlements, then we can have a clear transparency is to see what's money's coming in, and it's not just in free cash. The record keeping on the back end is very difficult for Diane and the auditor, so we just, again, want to have a clean slate and kind of figure out how to allocate those funds next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I will open that up for any questions. Council Orm.
I didn't mean to interrupt earlier, so my apologies, but I wanted to commend you for moving it out of free cash and getting it into a special reserve account. And I think our president had put some bullet points together, which makes sense, so I would support that as well. But again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for drawing it out of free cash and making it a specialized fund for opioid use disorder. It really needs to be there, and hopefully Marlborough will make the correct decisions to assist in the needs for that. But I wanted to commend you for doing that.
I just received this, so if I could have a
I
moment
did
to read
too.
it, that would be great.
I don't see any issue with what the President's proposing, but that's my comments. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair.
Council Orm. Council Roby.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if any other Finance Committee members wanted to speak. So it's not clear who this is from. It just says, I support, I offer the following. So I guess I'm concerned about the fact that it says the mayor send all expenditures to the council for information.
Point of information.
Council
Yes.
So it's from me, and I'm waiting for my turn to speak, and I will fill you in
But
on all
maybe I
those
should let
details.
you, as the maker of this,
Happy to.
explain, so we're all clear of what this means.
Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Councilor Roby. So this is something I've been following for a while. The DLS came out a while back and basically outlined the 9 sources that we're going to get about $2.3 million, but they were very loose in how the funds could be handled. And I had been working with the prior administration to get, as the money came in, just like any grant, any award, to go before the council so that we knew the money was coming in. So kudos to the mayor's office to sending it down with a little bit of help from DLS, because they've changed the rules now that says, the mayor can spend it how he wants, which I'm not very excited about, nothing personal, but it takes a little bit of authority away from the city council
Completely agree with
on how the funds are expended. So, with all that said, we're gonna get, again, $2.1 million over the next 15 years, and it's all broken down in monthly payments by all the big pharmacy companies on how they're sending us the money. So, I can be as upset as I want, but the rules are the rules, and I'm okay with it. I guess I acknowledge it. So my recommendations are, there should be a handful of them to approve the special revenue account, approve the transfer from the undesignated fund, but then the last 4 bullets are what I believe are key. I mean, it's $2.3 million, and I believe as a council, we need to know where the monies are going and how they're being expended, when they come in, when they go out, and what they're being used for. So the mayor send all the transfers to the council when they come in. We can't do anything with it other than to acknowledge the city received a check for $28,000 from Pfizer or whoever the pharmaceutical company is, and it's going into that account. The mayor should then send down what I'm going to spend it on. Tell the city council, what are we going to do with the money? I don't know. Your opportunity. If you've got suggestions, I'm sure the mayor's looking for them, let them know. But again, we're going to have $192,000, $190,000 here shortly in an account. Per the requirements in the actual DLS guidelines, the administration has to submit annually a report to the state on how the monies are being spent. I want to make sure that that report comes down to the council so that we all understand and we're all on the same page. Again, it's a lot of money that's going to be spent. And Diane, I apologize, for another report, but I think it's important for my check and balance part that we see a accounting of the money as they come in and as they go out. So I'm actually asking the council to approve that the auditor adds to our monthly reports that we get an accounting of the opioid settlement funds, how they're received and how they're spent. So, Mr. Chairman, if the councils agree or want to discuss further, I'd recommend the minutes reflect and the motions be made for all 7 of those items, all 6 of those items to appear on your report and the council to vote on.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I know personally, I do support that. Some good points on there. we want to have that transparency and see where the funds are. Councilor Roby.
Now that they've been explained, I guess I would question whether it's redundant that the mayor sends us the transfers and we also get a report from the auditor. The auditor's report would have the transfers in it, wouldn't it?
So the reason why I want the mayors to send it down so it becomes on the council agenda is the transparency part. The public sees nothing of what comes out. They see all the grants we get, whether it's from the state, from the police, from a gift from the guy down the street that wants to donate $100 to the senior center. The public gets to see all of it. The public won't see any of it if it's just an auditor's report that comes to the city council. That was my rationale behind it.
But why would a transfer be on an agenda?
It's not a transfer, it's just the acceptance. My wording is incorrect. It's the, well, we're getting the money, but it's going into the special fund. So that's my terminology. The money's coming in, but it's going to the special fund, so I consider it transfer. If the wording's wrong, I'm happy to work on the wording that says, I want to know when Pfizer sends us money, where it comes from and where it's going to. That's just me. If you guys don't feel that strongly about it, that's okay.
No, and I guess that's my question. For future payments, do they just automatically go into this account, or do we have to accept them first and then?
The council is out, once we approve the special revenue fund, Diane's gonna take that check and it's just gonna go boom.
Okay.
But I believe the public should know the money's coming in, and the council should see it on an auditor's report. That, again, my opinion, because it's the check and balance part of the program.
So again, it's the question of how does the public know? We're only seeing, you want to actually have us vote on a transfer that we don't have to
there is no
vote on?
voting. Well, the voting, once you approve this special revenue account, the council is out of opioids forever.
Okay, so.
We're done.
So the mayor sending the transfers to the council?
It's not really a transfer. Bad choice of words on my point. It's the acceptance of, or the notification of a grant that in the past we would approve. This one we don't. We just have to say, yep, you got it. Thank you for the information. So
okay.
Transfer, bad term on my part, so.
So it would just be a communication from the mayor letting us know, which would then be on the agenda, and we would just accept and file it. Because I'm trying to figure out how does the public get any of this if it's not on an agenda?
Right. That was my thought, because they wouldn't see it.
Okay.
And I think it's important that they know that there's $2.3 million coming our way.
Right. I mean, my guess is the monthly reports are public if anybody knew to ask for them.
No one knows to ask for
But
those.
that's where that would be.
That's correct.
Okay, so could we change the mayor sends all transfers, that the mayor
Send all communications.
communicates to
Yep.
the,
Yep, I'm good with that.
Mayor sends all communications.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add to that, so it will never be my intent to hide anything from the council. Not only do I owe an explanation of where the funds are being utilized, but also to the residents who actually are affected by this. So I have no problem sending down how the money will be utilized and when the money comes in. Unfortunately, if we do create this account, the council does lose that control, but I will make every effort to make sure that you are notified as to how this money will be utilized. You all know there are other people in this community that are watching this account. They have questions about this account. They sat in my office wondering where this money is and when are we going to start using it or utilizing it so it can benefit the community. I have no issues sharing that information because it is public information, and we need to utilize this money so make the community a better place, and so we can deal with this issue of the opioid epidemic that's happening. So I have no qualms with this whatsoever.
so I just have one more follow-up question. If an employee or employees get hired to do work under this, are they considered special employees versus an employee that we have to create because they'd be paid out of this fund,
I mean,
not out of the budget?
that's a conversation that we can go on another day. Again, I'm still wrapping my brain about how to spend this money, whether it is allocated a certain way. So in order, other communities have donated it to churches, to addiction centers. I don't know the avenue that we want to take with that. So again, this is just the first step as to many to come to where we want this money to be allocated to. Administration is kind of the lower on the realm. So we'll see how that goes. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question at that time. So
Mr. Chair, so the DLS guidelines, specifically say the executive officer, without further appropriation for the single purpose of which these monies are received, parentheses, emphasis added. In other words, the mayor's office now has full control of how the money is spent. Now, they just can't spend it how they want. There's guidelines, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, guidelines that say how you can spend the money, all right? And they have to use it within those guidelines. So hiring people, all that stuff, no one has worked out any of those details yet. Giving it away to people, again, it's got to follow the guidelines. So I don't know the answer. I just know it's a lot of money that's going to be given out, hopefully for the right causes, and it's important, I believe, that the council at least is maintained an awareness of what's coming in, what's going out, and how they're being spent.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support the President's bullet points, as well as Vice President Roby's change of the word transfers to communications. So I would like to move to approve the establishment of the Special Revenue Fund and the transfer request with the bullet points and the edit to the word transfer.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. I will second that motion.
Mr. Chair, on that motion, just within that DLS communication, it does say under Section D that the money is to expand access to opioid use disorder prevention, intervention, treatment, and recovery options throughout Massachusetts. So it spells it out, as just mentioned previously. So, and I'm sure the mayor will take that to where it needs to go. And that'll be another day for another discussion. But I support the motion as well. Thank you.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve order number 24-100-9080 to approve the establishment of the Opioid Settlement Special Revenue Fund and to approve the transfer in the amount of $162,202.95, as well as including the communication of the 6 items, bullet items that President Ossing has submitted. Any further discussion? All in favor? It carries 5-0. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. Order number 24-100-9082. Communication from the mayor, proposed ordinance amendment to the City Code, Chapter 125, Personnel, Section 5, Preparation of Classification Descriptions, and to Chapter 125, Personnel, Section 6, Salary Schedule, to create a new position of Communications and Special Projects Director, in addition to a transfer request in the amount of $25,900 to fund the position for the remainder of FY24. I'll read the letter submitted by the mayor. Dear Councilor, President Ossing, and councilors, I'm submitting for your approval a request to create a new position within the mayor's office, Communications and Special Projects Director. This non-union benefited 40 hours per week position would report to myself and may take day-to-day directions from the Chief of Staff. It is my belief that the communication is an area where the city requires significant improvement. We are currently only moderately active on one social media platform out of several, have a website that requires an upgrade and ongoing upkeep, are aiming to maintain a monthly city newsletter, intend to implement text notifications for city services and updates, have countless flyers, advertisements for city services that go out on a daily basis, and have little to no internal resources as it pertains to staff, training, and or any communication tools. From the social media end, we are looking to add not only Instagram to engage the younger community, but WhatsApp in order to provide updates and information in both Portuguese and Spanish. In today's digital age, providing communication at 21st century standard is essential to success of a modern organization. As a growing, robust city serving over 42,000 residents, it is imperative that we implement communication tools and practices that provide services and information to our residents using different platforms. In order to accomplish that, we must have the proper staff to maintain them. While this position sits within the mayor's office, I have structured it to serve citywide functions, not simply the mayor's office. This position would be an invaluable resource for all staff and departments to rely on for the website, social media, training and communication strategies, and best practices. Simultaneously, they will keep balanced the workload of the mayor's office, assisting with day-to-day operations and special projects. It is also my goal to recruit a candidate who speaks Portuguese to assist with internal translation services and outreach to the growing Brazilian community within the city. While this position would have many responsibilities, I would like to highlight 3 specific roles that would be crucial to improving the city's communication efforts. The city website. This position would be responsible for overseeing the website upgrade and redesign project, as well as all future and ongoing website-related issues. Currently, the website is under the IT department, who does not have the training or capacity to handle the volume of website requests and issues. This position would regularly audit the website for branding consistency, ADA compliance, outdated information, technical issues, and more. They would work hand in hand with each department to create a website that is consistent and user-friendly for residents and business owners. They would be responsible for managing the new chatbot feature that assists residents using AI-powered technology. Next is the digital media. This position would be responsible for creating an implementation of all of the city's digital media, including the city's website, city email, newsletter, social media channels, reverse 911, text notification systems, and all other platforms. This position would be responsible for photography, creating video content to enhance digital platforms, promote city services, information assist with employees' recruitment efforts, and much more. This position would allow us to professionally utilize these incredibly effective platforms, which are otherwise very time-consuming for individual employees. Training and collaboration. This position would be tasked with training each department on best use of social media channels, creation of flyers, advertisements, graphics, website use, and updating communication best practices, and more. The position would also work collaboratively with each department to understand their unique needs and provide them with tools and training to achieve them on any platform, whereas the IT department's function is to respond reactively to technical issues. This position would work proactively and collaboratively to enhance communications throughout the city. I would like to highlight that both the website upgrade and redesign project, as well as the ongoing upkeep of the website, will be a huge component of this position. Having this position in place for that project and to sustain it afterwards is crucial to achieve both the short and long-term goals surrounding the website. This position would be entirely funded through the remainder of FY24, utilizing excess salary from the vacant substance abuse coordinator position. I'm requesting a transfer in the amount of $25,900 from the substance abuse coordinator salary line to newly created communication and special project salary line item. The substance abuse coordinator position has never been filled and will retain significant monies to do so for the remainder of FY24 if needed. I share in the council's philosophy of utilizing excess salary line items to creatively increase needed services, which is what this transfer seeks to do. Enclosed for your review is a job description order, salary ordinance, funding source transfer request, and a salary survey. As mentioned, this position is critical to the website upgrade and redesign project, which would like to officially begin internally the week of March. Therefore, I'm respectfully requesting a suspension of the rules to have this matter be taken up and voted on at the February 26th meeting. This timeline will allow us time to attract an onboard candidate at the beginning of the website upgrade and redesign project. I respectfully ask for your support and partnership on this item. Please do not hesitate to contact me or my office with any questions. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. That's a lot of things in there, Mr. Mayor.
Pretty comprehensive, yes. So the difficulty that we're having with the mayor's office is streamlining that information. So the website is the way it is because no one's taking ownership of that. So we need to create a position so if someone does take that ownership. We sent out our first newsletter this past week. If you have signed up for the mayor's emails, then you should have received it. If not, we did send it to Karen today to forward to you. That newsletter is pretty comprehensive. It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of content in there. To coordinate with each department head onto what should go into that newsletter is very time consuming as well. And that's done on a monthly cycle. So now my office is only an office of 2. If you look at other offices throughout the city hall, they have 2 or more. That's very specialized. Everything needs to come through the mayor's office regarding communication. That's why I think the position should stay in the mayor's office, because there's a lot of time-sensitive materials, and some are confidential. If you want to make this a department head position, you just double the price of the salary. That's why if it's internal with the mayor's office, we can control that salary and again, streamline that information, because we will be working directly day to day with this position for communications special projects director. I'll be happy to answer any of the questions regarding salary, how we got to that number.
Mr. Chair, first of all, point of order, I do have to leave after my comments.
Thank you.
Mayor and I have spoken about this. He knows I'm in support of it. Where I used to work in Ashland, we had someone 5 years ago, so I think Marlborough needs to catch up on this. And I agree with you. I used to have to write a newsletter myself in my position as a health director. It takes up a lot of time. And I agree with the mayor on that as well. The next budget season, it'll be interesting to see where we get the money from. Obviously, we have opioid use disorder funding coming in, as we just discussed. So I understand why you're taking it from that salary line item, but that can get refilled quickly. But I am in support of it, and when you look at all the towns that have it on the back with the salary information, and you can include Ashland as well. With that said, I do have to leave, but I want to say one point. Last night, I was able to attend the emergency management group's meeting at the fire station, and one of their most important needs is communication with various English as a second language, so that population. So another very important factor, in my view, for this position. They could even help with the EMA for emergency preparedness. So with that said, I'm sorry I have to leave, but I will be supporting this on the floor, and I want to thank my fellow councilors for their understanding. But have a good night. I do have another commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Council Orm.
To answer that point, where there's money coming fiscal year 25, we're restructuring different departments and looking at every department to streamline different positions to see how they can work better and more efficient. And once that, I mean, we understand that it is a big ask for this, and so we're looking at every department to see where we can pull some money from and what is needed, again, to streamline the work efficiency with each department. Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for this particular position, when you presented the website upgrade and that was going to be imminent, that's very important to me because, as I said at the last meeting, but it's a point of frustration for me before I even joined the council. But when in that excitement, I was also wondering, you know, how is it going to be achieved to maintain that website to the degree, you know, that I feel like you're looking for? And if we keep with what we currently have, I feel like it would kind of, you know, we'd get excited about it at first, but then things might fall to the wayside. So I do agree, for many reasons outlined here, that it is an important position to add. And I believe you already answered one of the questions that I had about, you know, why in the mayor's office versus another department. The other question I had was getting to the salary point. So I see, you know, you provided the list of other communities that have this type of a position or a similar position, then also presented their minimum and maximum with the salary ranges, and then we come to a total average, which is, you know, where you get that 79,000. I was just wondering, how come there aren't any step levels before the step 7, and how come for this it's not a range as well?
So every person in the mayor's office only has a one line item. So it would be consistent across the board with the chief of staff, the executive administrator, and my salary line item as well. So there is no steps. It's directly one amount.
Thank you for that explanation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
All set, Councilor? I will just follow two before I get to Council Vital.
Couple of points. I took the time to go and look at all the websites of all these towns, because I said, hey, look it, they got a communications director, their website should be sparkling. They should like knock me out, and at least half of them were equal to ours. Let's just say that, just equal, maybe even worse than ours in some cases. So I did not see a direct correlation between having a communications director or any of the other titles and having a enhanced website. I didn't see it.
And you wouldn't, because that's depending on the job title that each of those communities offer. So the communications director may not be a webmaster, so they can just do strictly social media or different events and not do the website. So they're not exclusive based upon the community. This job position actually does include both of them.
And one thing that these communities don't have, that we have, and in fact, a lot of their mission is to support this position, and that's MEDC. One of the roles, primary roles of MEDC, they have a communications team. They have a communications team that meets monthly with each department head to ask them, basically, you know, what can we do to help you communicate better? In this time of tight budgets, I just kind of feel like, you know, we should tap if MEDC is not fulfilling their mission, then that's a whole nother discussion.
That's not MEDC's mission. MEDC is completely separate from the city side. They should not be reporting on schools.
But they communicate, one of their primary roles is to promote the city.
Correct, to bring economic development. This position would spearhead, for example, the newsletter that we just sent out was to offer dog licensings from the city clerk, voting information, the rec department summer programs. Those things are not specific to MEDC. This is events that's going on with the schools, with each department, building, construction, things that are happening within each department within the city. That is not MEDC's role or responsibility.
I believe that they believe that it is.
Okay, I would respectfully disagree. I think they took over that role because there was a lack from the city, and it should be the city's job to be doing that. After numerous conversations with Meredith, she said that she should not be reporting on what's going on in the schools unless it's school-to-business relationships and not summer concert series and things of that nature that's happening with the city. You feel free to reach out to her and correct me if I'm wrong, but after numerous times with Meredith and me on the podcast and lunches with her, it should be completely separate.
All set, Councilor Fire?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, I mean, and my comment is to Mr. Mayor, mine is looking at the economic impact of creating this position. I understand where you're coming from and all that. So mine is the impact of that. And is it going to be a little redundant because obviously you're meeting every day, you're on the phone with department heads getting that information. So that's a question that I have. Is this a bit of an overlap? But mine is strictly the economic side of it, sure, of creating this position with this salary. But I will open up to any other. Councilor Fitzgerald.
Sorry, Councilor. Can you elaborate on the overlap that you're concerned with? The overlap of information?
No, the redundant of a job because you're already meeting with department heads on any hot topic of the day and things like that. So that was my issue with that as well, but probably more the economic side of spending the money on a salary.
Right. So if I meet with the department heads on a regular basis, it's getting that information out to residents. And that's the whole idea
goal
of
of
having a
this.
communications director, is that there's a lack of information that's being pushed out to the residents. And that's what this newsletter's for. That's what, there's no information regarding the website, because there's no changes with the website. It's pretty stagnant. Once the redesign happens, then you still have to maintain the website. So who's going to do that is my question to you as the counselors if this doesn't go through. We can have a nice shiny website, but the information is not relevant. That's the problem that we're having now. That's why the website is the way it is now, because there's no one that takes ownership. And I ask, who's going to do that? And this job is more than just the website. This person is going to speak Portuguese, so the outreach, there's a WhatsApp that's not being utilized, there's no Instagram account. Any type of social media that's not being utilized, so there's no information going out there. I mean, I can give you, just the first newsletter that went out now, I can give you, there's 12 people that that actually responded and commented how wonderful this newsletter is. I've been stopped at every place that I go to, thank you for this newsletter. It's so comprehensive, there's been nothing like this before. I'm telling you right now, my chief of staff and my executive cannot handle this workload. So this is an easier for you as counselors to get information out there. If there's something that the counselors want to talk about, they can. If there's events that are happening, it's going to go in the newsletter. It's going to be pretty all-encompassing to get information out there. And if you don't think that your constituents don't want information, reach out to them and ask, because I can guarantee you that they want this position. And I'm not just saying that to push it, but everything on the campaign trail, they said, thank you for your communication. Thank you for the newsletter. The newsletter that I did during my campaign, I can't tell you how many people were thankful for that, and we do not have that. I don't know the numbers, but there was an incredible amount of people that signed up for our newsletter just because of the campaign and because it's new energy and they're craving this information. So yes, it just may be the website that you think this position is, but it encompasses so much more than that we're lacking in the city.
Thank you. Councilor Patillo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for being down here answering a lot of our questions tonight.
Happy to do so.
I'm going to start really with the website upgrade and redesign project. So just so I get this straight, Civic Plus is working with us now, well, will be, to redo the website.
Correct.
And so this individual, if hired on time, would work together with Civic Plus in this endeavor?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And so
then maintain the website once it's up.
and so Civic Plus will phase out. They're kind of done with their portion.
Correct.
Okay. I do just want to share that I also have some concerns in terms of salary.
Sure.
I was actually very surprised this week when I had two constituents reach out. I didn't know that they paid attention to finance committee meetings, but they both had concerns about the salary itself.
Sure.
Just feeling that it was a little bit on the higher end, looking at some of the other communities, but like you said, it's a very comprehensive job that this individual was doing or would be doing. During my time in the previous administration, I understand that every administration is different.
Sure.
We had a newsletter. Whether or not it's comparable to what we have now, you know, that's kind of for the residents all to decide, I feel like. So I do agree. I think communication is the backbone of what's happening. I still do have a concern over the salary and that amount, but there is a need for increased communication. I just don't know if another position adds to that. I do think it would. I just have some concerns, but I do appreciate you coming down and answering those.
And coming down here, we knew that this would be an issue, and I would like to just go back to the conversation that we had about the substance abuse coordinator position. We thought that was what we thought was a decent salary, and it turns out that we can't fill that role. I think looking at salaries across the board, now sitting in this seat, we severely underpay compared to other communities, and if you want someone who's talented and can do the job, we have to pay them. I don't think it's all that high considering the amount of work. I mean, it took quite a few moments to go through the whole job description based upon that. I think if you go to the private sector, this will be probably double, if not triple. If you were to outsource this, you're talking about a $200,000 job that could be part-time. There's other people, other parts of this city that actually have the same position, and it's higher than what we are paying this role. So I agree with you. I think it does seem high, but I think for the amount of work and responsibility maintaining this, I think it's justified. But again, that's your call. I would be hard pressed to say that if this position doesn't go through, then the constituents and residents of Marlborough will not be getting the information that they've been wanting for quite some time.
Thank you, sir. Good question, Councilor. Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As I said before, I think this is a good opportunity for adding a role to the community for communication. But also, this is also a role that metrics can be used to see before and after. In other words, you know, we're going to go through a website redesign. What's the traffic on the website like before versus after? You know, how much stickiness is there on websites? So I think that, you know, the process of what we're putting in place, we can extract metrics to see how effective the solution is and how effective the communication director is. You know, if, you know, I think the monthly newsletters is a great idea, but also with that, we can track how many people actually open it, how many actually people follow on links and all that stuff. All those metrics is something that we can go back to and say, oh, this guy who's, or this, rephrase that, this person who's now the communication director is now responsible for X amount of traffic. You know, because they're in the middle of this, and we can see how that compared to what was there prior. So I think that, you know, as we look at this going forward, we got to figure out how to see how effective it is, and I'm hoping to see something response from the upper office to talk about that. But I think this is a great idea to actually include within, you know, our modern age.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette.
And I realize that this is new, and I get change can be difficult, but I would hope that you trust the process. And, you know, I think this position, we're getting hung up on newsletters and websites, but it's so much more robust than that. I mean, you're going to have someone who speaks Portuguese in the mayor's office. That's the idea. You're going to have someone who is able to join the mayor in the mobile mayor's journey and reaching out to the community and being able to spearhead and talking to different communities of Marlborough that do not speak English or do not want to come to the city hall because they don't feel that they're represented. You know, I think there's a lot more than just a website or a newsletter, and I think that we're getting hung up on that, and communication, I think, is extremely effective. Like, you all want transparency with the mayor's office, but I think we need to do a better job about transparency with actually the residents, and how do we do that? By actually hiring someone who specializes in communications. I feel like you kind of can't have it both ways by expecting me to be completely transparent, which I'm happy to do so, but not expect that and give that to the residents of Marlborough.
Councilor Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess on that point, the question one would probably have to ask is, how about the Spanish-speaking people in the community?
Sure.
Where will they be?
So,
and then I'll go for other questions.
Heather in my office speaks Spanish.
Okay. I can understand the need for the communications and special projects director. I guess my questions still are around this person and the website and your point on training the city staff on effective communication strategies and tools.
Sure.
So if we have this person now taking away the website from IT, which Mark Gibbs isn't here to ask that question about, I know the whole security issue becomes a question for me after all of his comments about security.
Sure.
And then if this person's job is the website, why do the staff need to be trained on communication skills on the website if they don't ever put anything on the website?
It's not just the website, but it's from a social media standpoint. So the last snowstorm that we just had to your point, there was a lot of different misinformation that's being sent out from either the police and then from DPW and from the rec department. So we want to streamline it so that accurate information is being communicated to the residents both effectively, and there's always the same message going out. So everything right now, every department is siloed, and they're all kind of going rogue and doing their own thing. So the communications director would be that silver lining that kind of connects all those dots. So branding and everything's on the same page, and the same message is being broadcasted out to the community.
And I agree that there's a lot of information out there, some not accurate.
Correct.
But it's also, for some, it's not city staff putting it out there.
It is.
It's people. Well, they're putting it
No,
out
it-
there
from-
on,
from
not on
the-
city sites, they're just putting it out there on Facebook.
Right,
which is
because they're
different.
getting piecemeal information from different posts from different departments.
So you will have this person telling city staff, this is what you're going to put on there?
So as part of training, that directive will be what should be discussed during what. So if there is a snow emergency, this will be discussed, this should be posted, this picture, this graphic should be posted, as opposed to something else that doesn't follow the branding of what the city would like to showcase regarding communication.
Okay. So
There's actually already a training going on with communications, but it's not effective because no one takes the lead on that.
So the city has the website, but it also has a Facebook page. So will this person be maintaining the Facebook page
Correct.
also? And can any staff post on the Facebook page?
No, not through the city of Marlborough's page, but the DPW has their own, police have their own, fire have their own, and they all post.
Okay.
So it's streamlining that communication.
And this person will be training them on how to do that?
Or providing correct information and accurate information regarding certain incidents that happen, correct?
Okay. I guess I understand that. It just seems like what happens if they don't?
It's the same as if any department head doesn't do any other aspect of their job.
Okay.
All set, Councilor Roy?
The only other question I have is I know that in the mayor's letter, he had stated he wants this to be voted on at our meeting on Monday, but my understanding is none of the ordinance was
That is
advertised,
correct,
so we
Councilor.
can't vote.
Nothing has been advertised.
Okay,
Correct.
so
That's
you
correct.
would, I take it, somebody would vote tonight to move to advertise, that would maybe be suspended on Monday to advertise, and then, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a couple of comments, Mr. Mayor, and then I will talk about the comments on what you've said, and then I'll talk about the actual position. So the newsletter, I know it's big to you, and you say you heard it from a lot of people, but I'll remind you, 27% of the people voted, half of them didn't vote for you, so there's 87% of the people that aren't necessarily excited about a newsletter or haven't weighed in. So to say, you are correct, the people you talk to want one, but that doesn't mean everybody wants one. And you're asking all the taxpayers to pay for this position. I just want to make sure that that's clear. As far as different people putting out information on various topics right now, I'll remind you, and I don't have to, you're the mayor and you tell them what they can or can't put out on social media. I mean, that's handled really simply. So regarding this position, so I'm going to say I'm not thrilled with adding a new position to the administration just 6 weeks in, all right? To me, there are higher priorities in the city. Hiring a DPW commissioner, hiring a comptroller. Those are more important in my world than an information person. Again, my opinion. So I feel it's premature to move on this order until the following items are fully vetted out. You know, per your letter, this position supports all the city departments, not just the mayor. So to me, the job description, posting, and position should have council approval, not just selected, appointed by the mayor. Will the position be posted? In my opinion, the salary is too high, and as Councilor Brown said, has no steps. It takes direction from the chief of staff, who doesn't make the amount of money that this individual is going to make. Why not contract the position for the year? It seems we're really early on making it that this is, because we're now going to be stuck with something that if it doesn't work out, we can't get rid of that individual. All right? Full-time means pension, health, and OPEB, which basically means we're doubling the salary of the individual that we're going to hire. So if we're going to hire an individual, there should be a sunset clause that says after 1 year, we evaluate whether we think it's of value or not. Because if it doesn't produce, as Councilor Doucette's saying, why do I want to keep it on here? I need an out, or the city needs an out. Again, I don't want this to be a PR tool for the mayor's office, but rather a PR function for the city. Therefore, in my opinion, the city council needs to have input into hiring the individual. The job description, I know it says special requirement for Portuguese. I think it should be a preferred thing for Portuguese, but again, this position is gonna be for the life of the city in theory. Why am I just pigeonholing it to one particular language? Should the position be in the IT department? I don't know. I haven't been able to talk to Mr. Gibbs, and I'd like to get his thoughts on where it is. Again, my opinion, there's no rush for the position, all right? Again, we have higher priority positions that should be addressed prior to this one. So based on what I've seen so far, I would be reluctant to approve this position based on what we had, unless the items that I articulated are fully vetted out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Can I comment on that?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor, absolutely.
So the lifetime of the position would not be accurate, because if a new administration comes in, then they can fire this position just like the chief of staff, just like city solicitor or the executive administrator. If you were to outsource this, you'd be probably paying double, if not triple or quadruple the amount based upon the work.
Again, that's your opinion, Mr. Mayor, right? So if I hire them, I'm paying double the salary that it is because of all the inherent city council benefits. So now, it was double a half hour ago when you mentioned it, now it's triple, quadruple. Again, I'm looking for consistency and factual information.
It depends on the scope of what you or the mayor wants in regards to hire a consultant. If it's a 40-hour workload, it depends on the consultant fee. Having said that, I think, again, to your point, if, again, a new administration comes in, it can be fired. I think the Portuguese component is extremely important, that it needs to be here. There was another question, I forgot to your other points.
I mean, I'd be happy to send them to you all, but again, to me, it's a little premature to get this just yet until we have these things vetted out. This is a lot of money that we are asking to pay a position that we don't really know if they're going to be fully functional or meet the needs of what we think we want. And it's going to be all under the control of the mayor again, who, again, 6 weeks in, wants a new position.
Right. And I think that if you want effective change regarding communications and website and information, then you need to approve this position. If you want things to stay the same, then don't approve it. In regards to the comptroller and DPW, both DPW and the comptroller positions, we had conversations, and they're restructuring their departments so that, again, they can streamline, so they can effectively pay what needs to be paid for their staff and their team, which is why we haven't come down to the council yet, because we're working on that initiative. We are doing the best that we can regarding this restructure, but I feel that this is a priority because based upon what I felt during the campaign, and I think what you all may have heard throughout your campaign and knocking on doors, that this is a priority to a lot of residents. There's no reason why that we can't, from the mayor's office, do multiple things at the same time. I think with the website redesign, we just need to hit the ground running. You guys approved the $40,000, which I'm very thankful to redesign, but now the question is, who's going to do it? This was not a hidden agenda. It's just a huge workload and responsibility, so we want to find the right person to make sure that we are doing the best that we can with the money that the taxpayers are paying for this redesign of the website. I don't feel that we are doing anything out of the ordinary with other communities regarding communications, and if there's no one here to redesign the website or to maintain it, then there's no point of having a new website. I guess that's where we agree to disagree, and I'm more than happy to bring down the new DBW commissioner and work on that, and we've had numerous conversations about that, and with the comptroller. There's a series of events that happened with him and his situation, and I'm more than happy to do that. It's just, this came first.
It's okay, and that's fine. You have your priorities, I have mine.
Absolutely.
Right? And so mine are a little different, which is okay. I mean, that's the...
I think we have the same priorities, just a matter of timing, you know. But.
Mr. Mayor. Oh, Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when I was originally reviewing this information, I actually had a few of the same questions or concerns that President Ossing had. Listening more to the information you shared tonight, I understand more that it would be a skilled position, like somebody can't walk in off the street and have it be an entry-level position. And so I feel like the salary, the more I think about it, if I had that skill in IT where I could be considered somebody who could be like a webmaster or navigating different types of social media platforms, I would expect to be compensated for my skills. So I don't know to what scope these other communities utilize that position, or like in Fall River, they pay out $42,000. I don't know if that's part-time or full-time. You know, what they expect of this position. I feel like you did outline in great detail what you would expect from the position. Another thing that sticks out to me from just listening to things tonight is the idea of a contract or a sunset clause. That's also something that I was thinking of, but I would worry that, again, that would dissuade people from potentially applying and we wouldn't get the best candidates. The misinformation that's out in the community has been concerning to me for a long time. Every community has it. Every community has resident Facebook pages that are not, they're not monitored by city employees. So I feel like the more information that we can get out in a timely manner that's accurate, I feel like would serve the city very well. I would like to hear, though, as far as the timing of it, like President Ossing does have several questions. Is this something that needs to be moved on so quickly, or is it something that you might be able to get back to us with some of the questions that President Ossing had?
It's a matter of how quickly you want the website up and running and having effective communication. That's the question that you all have to answer yourself. I mean, my office is ready to go on this, and that's why we sent it down. I think you all want a new website because you guys sent down and approved the money for it. And, you know, we can delay that website, but for what? You know, if you want, again, that communication to be out there, this is, you know, this is where we're at.
Comment too. I know President Ossing had mentioned is having the IT director more involved, and that would have been helpful as well. And
So,
the other thing, talking about contractors and things like that, bridging the time period of the employment at this point, is there a way possibly have a senior worker that is fully qualified to be able to jump in and do something like this? Still thinking about the IT director's feedback and things like that. That's where I am, and
I
again,
can tell you that the IT director has nothing to do with the website now. They just host it. That's all that there is from the IT director. There's no updating, there's no maintenance, there's none of that.
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I've hosted my quota of corporate websites and managed them, and there's a different, you know, like, there is the tech side of what he's talking about, and then effectively there's the soft side, which is actually the communication with the people and getting the content and stuff like that. I see this role more on soft side than hard side. The platform's going to be done, it's going to have pages to be edited and stuff like that, and there's tooling to understand how to do the tweaks and stuff, but I see this role more of content, you know, soft side, making sure that the content's there, placing it, doing the position, and that is real work, you know, getting that stuff in place, and you're presenting it for the community, you know, making sure that everything's up to date, and what he, you know, there's a consistency that's actually important that people are comfortable with, when it comes to working with an organization, the brand messaging, if you want to talk about the Fortune view of life, Fortune 500 view of life. And, we, as Marlborough, we're trying to get ourselves at a point where people are more comfortable working with us electronically, digitally, to get information, to get what they need to know, And if the information is easily accessible, it's going to be used more often. So I think it goes back to how effective is, if we do the platform, we're developing the tools, we don't have the person to run it. So we're missing half the story. So I think that it's important to do both at the same time. And because we're doing the website, I think it's important to worry about the position as well. That's all.
But I also think that the website is crucial because, to your point, Councilor Vital, MEDC does a great job with their website and those communications to attract economic growth. I know that if you want to attract more residents to the city of Marlborough, if you go to the first thing you do is log on to their website. And when you look at something like a website that's not clean and efficient, it speaks to the character of the city. When you own a business, it's the same thing. You can be as flashy as you would like to be, and that kind of draws people in. But if there's no content or substance behind it, then you're just a flashy tool with no purpose. So I think that's kind of where, in regards to Councilor Vital's point, is we're mirroring MEDC because we need to be on the city side and not just for economic growth. It's two completely separate entities.
Councilor Brown? Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a quick question. So you had mentioned that IT just hosts the website. I was just wondering who currently updates the website.
So it's really up to every department that does that. So again, it's very siloed and there's no directive on who does what and when they do it.
Oh, so it could be any department in the city could go. Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Chillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to follow up on that. So right now, department heads do have the ability to alter the website just to kind of upload things, but obviously there's been no comprehensive training of the website at all.
Or time.
Right. Okay.
Or time.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And maybe this is directed to you, Mr. Chair, or to the mayor. This is a high-level job, and I keep watching the news, and it keeps telling me that the state is getting less revenue than they budgeted for 7 straight months. They're under budget. When do we receive the notice from the state as far as how our funding is going to go? And are you willing, Mr. Mayor, to wait to that point to say, hey, look it, we got some money from the state. It looks good. Let's go forward with this position.
Well, I'll have President Austin answer, but currently, right now, they have been working on and updating the cherry sheets and things of that nature. School budget, as projected right now, has some increases, but I'll open that up to President Austin.
No, Councilor Irish is correct. The mayor has submitted her budget, and part of that budget contains the cherry sheet numbers for all the cities and towns. So as currently submitted, we're looking at about a $2 million increase, if it holds. But it's got to go through House Ways and Means, it's got to go through the Senate, it's got to go through the Joint Committee, and then finally approved by the House, which doesn't usually happen because they can't do anything on time until August or September. They're supposed to have it done by June 30th, but they don't. So to answer your question, Councilor Vital, yes, there's an increase, but I don't bank on any increase, and we never have in the city. We've always budgeted revenue projections extremely conservatively. Diane, yell at me if I say something out of context, just for that case, because they can, as you eloquently pointed out, we're 7 months into the fiscal year and haven't hit a revenue target yet for the state. That doesn't bode well going forward.
Thank you, Mr. President.
To your point, Councilor Vital, I think an $80,000 a year position of a $188 million budget is for this high-level executive position, is a drop in the bucket, in my opinion, and you may all disagree. But again, if you want to provide content and communication to 40,000 plus residents, or give them the option to have this communication for $80,000 out of a $180 million budget. I don't think it's that.
But you can imagine our constituents saying, you had money to put in that communications director, but my taxes are going up.
I completely understand that, and that's why we'll be looking and streamlining different positions to see what positions are working and not working. I think this position will work.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you.
Any further questions? Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when this does hit the council floor, you know, we will all have a chance to vote again, and since it is an ordinance, you know the votes you would need for it. I am in support of this position. I do see its importance, and I feel like having it be a full-time position on our salary rolls versus contracted, I feel like this is a position I would want to attract the best candidate for. I would want them not only to have the technical skill, but the communication skill to be well-written. That's something I always look for, and I really feel like with this salary line, the person who I would, you know, if I could put my dream person in a communication role, I don't feel like $79,000 is too much to ask for that position, and I do feel like the age that we are in right now with digital communication and just about everybody on social media, I do think it's an important position to have. So I would move to approve the position and to advertise, and to ask for a suspension to advertise the next meeting.
Thank you.
Motion has been made, and I will open it for a second on the motion by Councilor Brown. Do I have a second? Seeing no second, Mr. President, we could also make a motion to postpone
We can table or postpone it to
Postpone
the
or
next
table.
finance meeting to get answers. That's
to get
correct.
answers, because I know, and I'm mentioning that because I know President Austin made some very good points, having a sunset clause. We need to have all this put together before we need to advertise that. So that's why I'm leaning towards that, so we could make that motion, Mr. President, to postpone.
Yep.
So I would entertain a motion.
Or if you'd like to continue the conversation now, or I don't know what's going to change between now and the next finance meeting. I'm just curious, just to open the discussion.
That's correct, so valid question, but if we want sunset clauses and other things put in, those all have to be changed and properly advertised in the ordinance. So the ordinance, if you're asking me, I don't agree with the salary ordinance, so I wouldn't be supporting it right now. So I don't know if the votes are there. So I think it's worth some more discussion, but that's just my opinion. The Finance Committee will make a recommendation to the full council.
Mr. President. Councilor Roby.
Thank you. I would remind the counselors, I don't know how many were on it when this, actually I wasn't on it, when the council cut the human services position in the city of Marlborough. It was done at a budget point in time. So if we approve this line item at a future budget, all you have to do is zero it out. There doesn't have to be a sunset clause. If you don't like what the person's doing, you don't think the job is necessary, we could zero it out in May when the budget's approved, or you could wait to zero it out next year. So the sunset language,
Right.
I'm a little leery of when we have the ability to wipe out any line that we want to in the budget.
And to your point, Councilor Roby, that was discussed during the substance abuse, and I think that sunset clause was shot down as well, because when you're trying to hire for a position, no one's going to take a position for 2 years or 1 year knowing that they may be out of a position. So to attract that caliber of skill set, it kind of defeats the purpose, knowing that, oh, I may only have this job for a year based upon 11 individuals who may not agree with everything that they're doing. So to Councilor Roby's point, you can just zero out that line item in the next budget, you know. All I'm asking is let the position prove itself to see if it's effective or not. And then we can take it from there. And I can guarantee that I think everyone will be pretty happy with the results. I know this is, again, all new and it's different, but that's the reason why I think I was elected. It was to try different things and bring that communication to the residents of Marlborough. And to your point, Mr. President, yes, I may have only got half the population who came out to vote, but I wonder if how many other people weren't aware to actually vote because there wasn't proper communication, or they're not engaged. I think with this administration, you see a lot more people who are engaged. And then in the last newsletter, we actually had, and it's an avenue for people to be on the boards and commissions, because now people are engaged, because now they're in tune, because we're providing that information to them. I think it only enhances the community if they have that information and they have that power. So I guess my question to you is, why wouldn't you want to take that chance? It's an $80,000 gamble, and I get that, but I would see, let's prove it. You know, I would put my money where my mouth is and go for it. And I understand that you're gambling with tax dollars, and I respect that, but I think with campaigning and hearing the needs and the wants of the people here, knocking on doors whether they voted for me or not, or they voted in general, I think it's safe to say that everyone wants proper communication. I will leave you with that.
Thank you,
But,
And I just have one, maybe final question. If this was approved to advertise, I'm getting the sense nobody wants to increase the salary, but if there was a decision to reduce it after advertised, that could be done. Is that not correct?
Yep.
Or somebody could move to reduce it and then advertise the reduced amount. Is that also correct? Somebody on the Finance Committee to begin with? Okay.
With that, no, I will entertain a motion.
motion's already been on the table, there's just been no second.
I'm sorry, correct. See, no, oh, Councilor Fitzgerald.
I mean, I know that at the present moment, I'm not comfortable going forward with this. I mean, I will move to, is it postpone or table until the next Finance Committee meeting?
That'd be correct. Maybe you could ask for more information, or...
So just as a point of order, Council Brown made a motion, but no one seconded, so
Seconded.
that's dead.
Yes.
So now the new motion on the table is to postpone to another Finance Committee meeting. So now that needs a second in order to move forward, or if it doesn't, it has a similar fate as Councilor Brown's motion. So Councilor Fitzgerald's made the motion to postpone.
I will second that motion to postpone order number 24-100-9082. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Well, I just want a clarification. Postpone to an indefinite future?
You guys say to the next
Or next
time and date
finance?
certain, correct? You got to pick another meeting date.
For, see, we meet on the 26th.
The next
You
finance
don't know
meeting.
when your next Finance Committee meeting is, so just postpone it until the next meeting.
The next meeting.
It's next
Yeah,
finance meeting.
the next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. To next meeting. So motion has been made and seconded to postpone to the next meeting.
Next finance meeting.
If,
All in favor? 3, it carries. All opposed? 1. It carries 3-1.
if I could, if you are looking to postpone it, which 3 of you are, I would highly encourage you to come directly to me or email my office so we can discuss this. I would like to know your concerns other than this. If it's just salary, we can work on that, but if it's a bigger picture, I think the issue is just the salary, but I could be mistaken. But that's what I need to know. I think the job description is pretty intense, and if it's just salary, then I need to know. But I would also like to know any other concerns, because again, if this position doesn't go or something like this position, my concern is why are we investing in a website?
Councilor Brown.
Move to adjourn.
Motion has been seconded to adjourn. All in favor? We are adjourned at 8:10 p.m. Thank you, Finance.
Thank you.